Hi, my name is Andi. I'm a chaotic reader, but if there's one thing you should know about me, is that most of my shelves are filled with fantasy books. Which also means I need a constant supply of new things to read. So today, let me show you 5 fantasy books I've picked up in the last 2 months basically. Some of these I had my eyes on for ages and finally grabbed a physical copy of them, and a couple are relatively new releases that I just couldn't resist. Let's start with the newest one, and this one is going to be tricky to describe without spoilers because I've already read it. I'm talking about The Night and the Moth. This one is a highly anticipated new release from the author of One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which is one of my favorite fantasy duologies. This time the story follows one of the 6 diviners who serve the Abyss, tasked with receiving visions from gods known as the Omens. One day, the new king comes from a prophecy, and with him is a devilishly handsome knight who has no respect for any of the omens. Do you see the vision here for top-tier banter and tension? I do love a good mythology setup, and this one has the author's signature gothic atmosphere with the cathedral setting. There is also a gargoyle side character and a bit of a mystery plotline once the main character's fellow diviners start disappearing. Is it a summer read? For me, yes, because reading about misty forests makes the summer heat a bit more bearable here in Austria. Next up is one I've had on my list for a while now and finally grabbed it when it popped up on BookBot, which is this second-hand book site here in Austria. Obviously not sponsored. I have like 100 subscribers and usually 30 video views, so what would they do with that kind of coverage? Anyway, I got it there for €9, I believe, which is a good price because English books tend to be more expensive here. As you can see, I'm talking about The Prison Healer. What drew me to the book was honestly the unusual setting. We follow Kiva, who is an actual prison healer who volunteers to face a series of elemental challenges in a place of the rebel queen to keep her alive. Add a brewing rebellion, a mysterious new inmate, and hopefully a potential romance subplot, and you get exactly my favorite combination. I have to say the last young adult fantasy that I have read was Legendborn, which set the bar really high, so let's see how The Prison Healer will measure up. You know how sometimes 2 completely different books blend together in your brain? For me, that's The Starless Sea and Strange the Dreamer. I already own The Starless Sea still on my TBR shelf behind me, and now I've added Strange the Dreamer to the list, so it would be time that I read both and stop mixing them up. I got Strange the Dreamer also secondhand, and honestly, none of the covers really stood out to me. They don't really give off fantasy vibes, you know what I mean? But I've heard really good things about it, so here we go. The story is centered around a young librarian named Laszlo who teams up with a hero called the Godslayer and a band of legendary warriors to discover a mythic lost city. Talking about a good mythology setup, this seems super intriguing as the plot supposedly dives into the past of the Godslayer and what kind of god or gods he slayed, and a mysterious blue-skinned goddess that only appears in Laszlo's dreams. This book is praised for its lyrical, poetic writing style, rich world building with the lost city elements, and wistfully captivating characters starting with Laszlo, so it really seems to tick all the boxes for my personal taste. I can already picture myself getting lost in it next to a lake on a hot summer day, or maybe in a cozy cafe with some iced coffee. Staying with the author Laini Taylor, I wasn't aware that she had another series before Strange the Dreamer, this time a trilogy with The Daughter of Smoke and Bone as the first book. But when I saw that it takes place in Prague, which is a city I visited multiple times, plus it was on sale in the second-hand bookshop for like €4.80 or something, I was immediately interested. Besides taking place in Prague, the story promises a paranormal and urban fantasy mix with a lot of mystery at its core as a young art student, Caro chases the truth about herself. It's been a while since I read a morally complex, flawed main character that was actually done well, so I'm looking forward to that aspect. Despite this book being released before Stranger Dreamer, I've heard similar praise for its richly imagined and atmospheric world building and unique plot twists, so this should be a standout read either at the end of summer or beginning of autumn, for sure. And last but not least, I mentioned that after Nettle and Bone, I want to read more from T. Kingfisher, and one of the works which seems to align with my taste the most is Paladin's Grace. I feel like we have a nice theme here, starting with the knight and the moth, and here we have a paladin, which is also a kind of knight who is mourning the death of his god. There is so much potential for internal conflict, wrestling with guilt, looking for a new meaning for his life, especially as he encounters a fugitive named Grace, and of course they are forced to team up against spies and a potential cryptic killer. Knowing the author, this story is also gonna be full of twists, blending humor with emotional depth, witty banter, layered and interesting side characters, and main characters that are in their 30s, and I have to say, hopefully a lot more emotionally mature than the usual romantasy protagonists. Also, I have to mention, I really like the illustrated cover that gives off a little bit of historical fiction look, making it look like a chronicle almost. And really curious to see if this raccoon cat kind of animal makes an appearance in the story. So these are the 5 books which now I'm realizing are all a magical blend of fantasy, romance and mystery, perfect for those lazy end of the summer days. Let me know what you will be reading in August, or if you already have your autumn TBR ready. See you in my next video. Until then, take care. Bye!